Today is Wednesday, October 9th, 2019, and it is 6 o'clock p.m., and I'm going to call the Chino Valley Fire District Board of Directors regular meeting to order. And with that roll call, shows that 4 of us are here. Vice President Luth is absent and will not be able to attend the meeting tonight. And the first thing I'm going to ask is everybody please silence your cell phones. I've already silenced mine because I'm usually the culprit that doesn't do it. I'd like to remind the public that this will be video recording the entirety of the board meeting. At this time, would you please stand for the flag salute? Johnson, would you lead us in the flag salute? Sure.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our invocation with Chaplain Lewis.
Good afternoon. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we acknowledge you and we enthrone you in our hearts. We thank you for loving us and for taking care of us. Lord, I want to pray a blessing for this Chino Valley Fire District. Lord, for those who, firefighters, these people that have put in years and years of hard work for the well-being of the community, Lord. I pray for a blessing. I pray that you continue to protect and watch over them. Keep them safe, Lord, every day. And Lord, I pray for the board meeting, and that you will preside over the meeting, and that you will bless the leaders with incredible wisdom to make decisions and to make plans for the well-being of the fire district and the community as a whole. We thank you, God, for presiding over us and for loving us so much. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Seated. No, it's not. At this time, I'd like to ask the clerk of the board if we have any changes to the agenda.
We have no changes.
No changes? Okay. Moving on.
Presentations and announcements. The Chino Valley Fire District proclaims October as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas breast cancer touches the lives of Americans from every background and in every community across the nation. And whereas more than 200,000 women and approximately 2,600 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year in the United States, and tens of thousands are expected to lose their lives to the disease. And whereas during National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we honor those we have lost, lend our strength to those who carry on the fight, and pledge to educate ourselves and our loved ones about the tragic disease. And whereas, though the exact cause of breast cancer are unknown, understanding its risk is essential to prevention. Women and those who have personal or family history of breast cancer are among those at greater risk of developing the illness. And whereas early detection is key in the fight against breast cancer, and whereas this month we stand with those who have been affected by breast cancer, and whereas we recognize the ongoing efforts of dedicated advocates, researchers, and healthcare providers who strive each day to defeat this terrible disease. Inspired by the resilience of those living with the disease and in memory of loved ones lost, let us together strengthen our resolve toward a future free from cancer in all its forms. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Chino Valley Fire District Board of Directors proclaims the month as October as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Our next item on the agenda is Tower 6 Firefighter Paramedic Presentation. I'd like to invite Firefighter Paramedic Louis Wolfkalba to please come forward.
Well, Chief, this is a plaque for Tower 6. This is just a thank you to yourself, all the other chiefs, all the training staff, the admin staff, and all of our crews that have helped us along the way to get where we want to be, and we're just proud to be part of this organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful. Can you get one more, Marcel, with all of them in there? Please.
Do you want to get into?
Good.
Thank you. Chief, thank you.
Left-handed.
Here we go.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm gonna bring it up, maybe grand
Next item, Employee Service Awards. I will call up the recipients one at a time. When I call your name, please come forward and remain up front for a group photo. Firefighter Paramedic Andrew Hubbard, 5-year Service Award.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
you, sir. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. Your service pin. Congratulations.
Thank you,
Can't believe it's been 5 years already. It's amazing.
Time flies.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do a group one at the end.
Firefighter Paramedic Mark Hughes, 5-year Service Award.
Mark? Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Firefighter Paramedic Christopher Nelson, 5-year Service Award.
Thank you. Congratulations on 5 years. Thank you. Congratulations. You're your first man. Appreciate it.
Firefighter Paramedic Brent Underwood is also being recognized for 5 years of service this evening. However, he was not able to attend. Firefighter Paramedic Philip Vasquez, 5-year Service Award.
Congratulations. Everything you do.
Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate it.
Firefighter Paramedic Casey Visioni.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You can smile. It's okay.
And that concludes our 5-year Service Award recipients.
5 years, this is just a start. More to go.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Our next service award is for 10 years of service, Human Resource Specialist Angelica Alba.
Angelica, congratulations, you've been here almost as long as me.
Time flies and having fun.
Service pin. Congratulations. Thank you. smiling at everything fine.
Next, 15-year service award, Fire Inspector Edmund Kitebis.
Edmund, congratulations. At 15 years, we get away from paper.
Congratulations. Thank you for everything that you do for us. Thank you.
40-year service awards. Captain Fernando Caldera, please come forward.
Good. He's gonna give you that one first. Okay.
I'm going to give you a street name after your firm.
Got some good stuff there.
And Ross.
Wow, okay,
Me too.
awesome.
And I have some information
Probably no more
to
than I
read.
do on that.
She's gonna read something about it.
Oh, okay, oh, good.
Captain Fernando Caldera began his career with Chino Valley Fire District in October of '79 as a firefighter. Fernando and his wife Cheryl reside in Hesperia and have 2 children, Stephanie and Joshua. Fernando attended Chaffey College and became a paramedic in October of 1985. He promoted to captain in August 1991. Fernando was a fire explorer from 1976 to '79 with both the Chino Fire Department and the Los Angeles County Fire Department. Fernando has been an active member of the district and served as an EMS coordinator. He is also currently assigned to Station 67C C shift. Congratulations, Captain Caldera, for 40 years of service to the Chino Valley Fire District.
And he actually has, there's one more child, and his wife is aware of it. They have a third. Just so it's not a surprise, so. Fernando, it's a pleasure and honor to present you with your 40-year service pin. As far as I know, we've never had an employee that has hit the 40-year mark of service with the district. So congratulations. Thank you. And Fernando was my captain 28 years ago when I started with the fire district, and really helped me, at least in my view, get started out on the right foot. And what I really appreciated is he didn't treat me any different than anyone else that was here, had very high expectations, and held me accountable and kept me from doing too many stupid things, at least I like to think. So I appreciate his guidance and just his enthusiasm for the fire service. So thank you for, really appreciate it, and congratulations.
A few words.
Or more.
I think you told these guys, it went by like that. It's going by like that. It's quick. You remember when Don and I were shoveling hay, so, to the horses and all that sort of stuff. So, lots of stories we can be told.
So, and just one quick thing for everyone to attend is, what this gift is, it's actually a gift certificate for Baxter Friend, for you to be able to go get, to pick what you want, and it's a gift certificate to get some work done there, and you can hang up some of the things you've collected over your career.
That's neat. Awesome. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Thank you.
Captain Don Ross, 40 years service award.
Thank you.
Captain Don Ross began his career with the Chino Valley Fire District in October of 1979 as a firefighter. Don and his wife Kelly reside in Upland and have 3 children, Nikki, Katie, and Beth. Don grew up in West Covina and attended Mount San Antonio College, San Bernardino Valley College, and Crafton Hills College. Don promoted to engineer in 1989 and to captain in 1991. He is a certified driver and developed the original driver certification manual. Don has also served on the apparatus and fire station committees and has assisted with the fire district's promotional testing process. Don developed and coordinated the Chino Valley Fire District's Reserve Firefighter Program for many years. Don also coordinated the original Communicable Disease Program and the annual fire apparatus pump testing. Don and Kelly enjoy attending country concerts, traveling, and camping with family, friends, and their grandchild Hannah. Don is currently assigned to Station 62C shift. Congratulations, Captain Ross, for 40 years of service to the Chino Valley Fire District.
It's my honor to present your service bid for 40 years. And up until about 2 minutes ago, I'd never
Right.
given one of those before.
He's
so-
always been ahead of me.
Congratulations, entire career. Thank you for everything you've done for our organization and continue to serve our community. And thank you to your family for coming tonight, and Kelly for keeping you in line for all these years.
That's for sure.
I really appreciate that. So.
And Don, would you like to say a few words?
I'm kind of a little word type guy, you know? I'm just saying thank you very much, you guys.
And he would like
Very-
to express his gratitude to his family for their support over the years.
That's right.
Especially my wife Kelly, of 37 years.
My two daughters are here with my granddaughter Hannah, my brother-in-law Craig, and my sister Lori are here, and all my several good friends are here.
Or can you come back?
Come on, Fern. Number
I
one.
don't think we'll ever see this again, another two of them with 40 years.
Let's bring it to 40 and then we. It's just 80 between the two.
Hurt my hand.
And we're not gonna add in our time because I can't add that high.
Congratulations, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you. October 28th. Hi, my name's Don.
Okay, at this time, we're recognizing Deputy Chief Tyler Johnson upon his retirement.
It's kind of hard to recognize you. Tyler, congratulations. I'd like to present you a plaque.
Thank you very much.
Deputy Chief Tyler Johnson retired after nearly 30 years with the Chino Valley Fire District. Tyler and his wife Lynn reside in Canyon Lake, where they have raised two children, Taylor and Nicholas. Tyler grew up in San Bernardino and attended Canyon High School. Tyler received his EMT certification through ROP while still a senior in high school. He began his firefighting career as a paid call firefighter with San Bernardino County Fire, CDF, shortly after graduating from high school, and also worked for Good Hugh Ambulance in Riverside. He attended Crafton Hills Paramedic Program as well as Crafton Hills Fire Academy. In 2010, Tyler earned a bachelor's degree in fire science and continued to attend classes as part of the Fire Officer Leadership Program. Tyler was hired by Chino Valley Fire District in November of 1989. Tyler served as a firefighter paramedic for the Chino Valley Fire District for approximately 12 years and was promoted to captain in 2001. As a captain, Tyler was responsible for the development, maintenance, and day-to-day operation of the district's staffing program, TELSTAFF. He also has served on several committees, including the Facilities, USAR, Negotiations, and Staffing Procedure Committees. In September 2017, Tyler was promoted to the position of Battalion Chief, and he was assigned to an administrative position with support services. In his role as Battalion Chief, Tyler took on several projects, including the transition to a new dispatch center. In June of 2019, Tyler was promoted to Deputy Chief in Emergency Services. Tyler and Lynn look forward to many hunting, fishing, and shooting trips and spending time with their family, including their dog Crush. Congratulations, Deputy Chief Tyler Johnson, upon your retirement.
What that was Lynn's looking forward to when you go on those trips.
Exactly. I'll go on some 96-hour shifts for her to get out of her hair.
So Tyler, it's my honor to present you with your retirement badge. Congratulations. Thank you for your service to the district. We're going to miss you.
At this time, we have some additional presentations. Representative Suzette Dang, San Bernardino County Supervisor, Kirk Hagman's office.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, I didn't recognize you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the county of San Bernardino, the entire board of supervisors, we'd like to present a beautiful resolution. There are many whereases, but my favorite one is whereas Deputy Chief Tyler Johnson married his sweetheart, Lynn, and they have 2 children, Taylor and Nicholas. We look forward to spending time with family and volunteering in his children's activities. We thank you for your service, for invaluable service. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mark Lucio, City of Chino.
Deputy Chief,
Hi, Mark.
how you doing? I just wanted to give you a certificate of congratulations on behalf of the residents of Chino, Mayor Giola, and the rest of the city council. Congratulations on your 29 years of service, and thank you for what you did for our community.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Caroline Murray, representing Teamsters Local 1932. I got a little ahead of myself, excuse me. Councilmember Brian Joe, City of Chino Hills.
Geez, I've been gone for 2 years and this is how I get treated. Well, on behalf of the residents of Chino Hills, just wanted to thank you for all your years of service and, all the time you spent away from Lynn protecting all the residents of the district. On a personal note, it's been wonderful to get to know you and see your career and my years here and then years at the city. So enjoy retirement. You've
Thank you,
earned
brother.
every bit of it.
I appreciate it.
Caroline Murray.
This is on behalf of the Teamsters Non-Safety Unit. We have a small gift for you.
Oh, thank you very
I
much.
want to wish you a long, healthy, happy retirement.
I appreciate
Our
that.
best to you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you
I'm
for
gonna
your
miss
years
you
of
guys.
service. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
At this time, I'd like to invite the management team up, please.
So, well, this wasn't the plan, was it?
No. Looks like everyone's up here. So this is a gift from the management team. There's something in there and for you to continue to exercise your Second Amendment rights.
I don't
There's a
think
nice-
I've been doing a lot of that lately.
And we'd like to have Lynn come up. And these are for you, for sharing him with us over the years. We appreciate that. He's yours now. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
Okay.
No one wants to send it to Tyler.
Suck it in.
Would you like to share safety words? Get out of your way here.
Yeah, this day wasn't supposed to come so quick. For those of you that don't know, I had an event that precipitated me to making this decision to retire. You know, I was only promoted a couple months, well, 4 months ago now, into deputy chief position. One of the biggest honors of my life. Working with this management team has been amazing. All of you guys, one of the most competent, well-intentioned, caring group of individuals that I've ever had the honor of being around. It was really an amazing, short but amazing ride. To the guys on the floor and gals, you guys are awesome. You just are. You guys do great work every single day. I am so proud of being able to call myself one of you. I'm going to miss seeing all your faces. I had a lot of great things I wanted to do, and God had a different plan for me. And I had to listen to that. So it's with a full heart that I say so long. I'll see you guys around. And I thank you for everything that you've done and continue to do. And keep looking along the horizon and keep working and keep doing the things you do, because you guys are great firefighters. I'm proud to have served next to all of you. So lastly, to my wife, man, what a ride. She's been my rock. We went through a really hard time recently. I couldn't have got it through without her. She makes everything work. None of this works without her. So I owe you a lot, and we're already doing a lot of that stuff. So this wasn't the plan. I had more to give, but it's just going to be different opportunities now that I'm going to look forward to. And I'm going to miss all of you guys very much. And to the board, I appreciate getting to know all of you, and really enjoyed working alongside of you. I couldn't believe how much fun I ended up having up here at the dreaded admin. I'm gonna miss the admin staff. You guys are awesome. I don't want to forget you at all, because you guys all put a smile on my face every day when I walked in. I just loved getting to know you guys to the level I did, and just let you know how much I appreciate and how important you guys are. And I'm just gonna miss the whole thing. I mean, I really am. I never believed I would say that, but I'm gonna miss you guys. So, and I'm gonna miss the fun we had up here. It was a good place to work. So I appreciate everything, and I'm gonna shut up now. So thank you.
At this time, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We will return at, what time is it? 6:35. We're going to call our meeting back to order.
Public hearing, Fire Code, Local Amendments and Ordinance Adoption 2019, California Fire Code, and 2018 International Fire Code. Purpose is for the Board of Directors to allow public comment, conduct a second reading by title only, and adoption of ordinance number 2019-01, adopting the 2019 California Fire Code based on the 2018 International Fire Code with local amendments to be effective January 1st, 2020. Report by Fire Marshal Danielle Barnes.
Good evening, President DeMonico, members of the board. At the September 11th Board of Directors meeting, Ordinance 2019-01 was introduced and a first reading by title only was conducted. Ordinance 2019-01 outlines all proposed updates and/or changes for the adoption of the 2019 California Fire Code. The ordinance is attached to your staff report, and the local amendments are identified in Section 2 with italicized text. Our local adoption process does include updated local regulations to the 2019 California Fire Code while ensuring continuous fire code regulations remain in place, including some previously adopted local amendments. The proposed ordinance has been reviewed and approved by our legal counsel and advertised as required by law. The 2019 California Fire Code will become effective statewide January 1st, 2020. The full text of the California Fire Code to be adopted by reference, subject to recommended modifications, is available at review here at our administration. The proposed ordinance has been reviewed by the City of Chino and Chino Hills building officials, as well as the county, and each of those respective entities will ratify the new California Fire Code during the months of November or December before their governing bodies. Once ratified, the ordinance will be filed with the State Department of Housing and Community Development as required by law. It is recommended that the Board of Directors allow public comment, conduct a second reading of ordinance number 2019-01, adopting the 2019 California Fire Code based on the 2018 International Fire Code with local amendments, approve waiving the reading of the entire ordinance and read the ordinance by number and title only, advise the public that a complete copy of ordinance and a copy of the 2019 California Fire Code and 2018 International Fire Code are available for public inspection at Fire District Headquarters, and adopt ordinance number 2019-01 to become effective January 1st, 2020.
Okay, thank you. Before I open this up, I want to make one announcement that we're not going to have the types of meetings we've had before. So when we're on the agenda items, whether it be public hearing or any agenda items, all board members, I'm going to ask you to adhere strictly to the agenda item. If you get off of the agenda item, I will stop you and we will focus back on the agenda item, and we're going to proceed that way. So with that being said, at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing, and I'd like to request any public comment on this item. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board to request any board comment. Does anybody on the board have any comment on this item?
Thank you for your efforts.
Yes. Okay, at this time I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to request a motion for the public hearing.
So moved.
I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0, 1 absent.
At this time, I'll read the ordinance by number and title. Ordinance number 2019-01, an ordinance of the Chino Valley Independent Fire District adopting by reference and amending the 2019 edition of the California Fire Code with errata and the 2018 International Fire Code regulating and governing the safeguarding of life and property from fire and explosion hazards, hazardous materials, and from conditions hazardous to life or property and the occupancy of buildings and premises, providing for the issuance of permits and collection of fees, and repealing Fire Code Ordinance number 2016-02 of the Chino Valley Independent Fire District. Next item, properties declared for weed abatement. Purpose is to receive public comment on the declaring and noticing of property owners for weed abatement. Report by Fire Marshal Danielle Barnes.
Hello again. At last month's board meeting as well, resolution number 2019-16 was adopted, which identified properties throughout the district for weed abatement. Following the September meeting, notices were sent to all property owners, giving them until tomorrow to abate said hazards. Properties that have not complied with this will be assessed a penalty and be subject to clearance by our private contractor. It is recommended that the Board of Directors receive public comment on the declaring and noticing of property owners for weed abatement, as well as make any rulings on any and all objections raised regarding the proposed removal of weeds.
This time I'm going to open the public hearing. Would like to call and receive any public comment. Would anybody from the public like to comment on this? Seeing none, I'll bring this back to the board for any board comment. Do I have anybody, member of the board, that would like to comment on this?
I do have one question.
Go ahead, Mr. Williams.
How much is the penalty? Does the penalties vary, or how is that determined?
No, the penalty is $315, and it's laid out, so they receive an administrative cite, and that's the weed abatement, so it's in our master fee ordinance.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Seeing no further question or comments, I'm going to close the public hearing. And that does not call for a vote.
Correct, no action is required. Public communications. This is the time and place for the general public to address the Board of Directors about subjects that do not appear elsewhere on the agenda. The public may address items on the agenda at the time addressed by the board. Due to board policy and Brown Act requirements, action may not be taken on any issue not on the agenda. When you address the board, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, which is optional, prior to making your remarks. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes, and we have 2 requests to speak.
First request to speak, Mr. Brad Goldman.
One second. So I came before you guys last session, talking about some issues, and after I left, I looked into it a little bit more, and Mr. Williams, you've asked a number of times for a number of things on this, and so I thought I'd show you the videos and go from there. This, real quickly, this first video, let me just upload. This first video is from the August 14th meeting, and this was going over the definition of a battery.
Battery is an intentional, unpermitted act. Battery is the right to have one's body left alone by others. Battery is both a tort and a crime. Battery is harmful or offensive contact. The act of battery is the same in both areas of the law. Touching the person of someone is defined as including not only contacts with the body, but also with anything closely connected with the body, such as clothing or an item carried in the person's hand. Battery includes contact that causes no actual physical harm, but is instead offensive or insulting to the victim. This includes touching someone against his or her wills. The basic elements that establish battery are an act by a defendant, an intent to cause harmful or offensive contact on the part of the defendant, and harmful or offensive contact with the plaintiff. In tort law, the intent must be either specific intent, where the contact was specifically intended, or general intent, where the defendant was substantially certain that the act would cause contact. At a previous meeting, the former employees would...
Okay, this next one is a couple minutes later, and I'd love to show you guys the whole video, but because of my limited time, I'm unable to, but you are able to see both these videos.
The battery must resolve this.
It was not a battery. And,
Right,
and we won't be able to resolve this until we see it on the video.
Sorry. This is where you acknowledge that you know that you're not supposed to touch anyone.
According to the law, I need to be
Can I have a couple minutes here? Couple things. I think it's been made very clear to Mr. Williams that he shouldn't and can't be touching anybody here at the district. You got that, right? I got it. Okay.
You heard your response, right? That you got that? This is where legal explains the liability that you're creating by this future action.
Some potential liability with the district, and that, of course, the legal counsel for guidance on that, but I believe you put Drake Williams on notice. It's been publicly, you've read your statement now twice. You filed a report. And yeah, while it happened here in a boardroom, in a board meeting, post-board meeting, I did struggle with the idea of a censure over this, unless there really is some liability liability or some concern to the district that legal counsel could weigh in on or
Obviously, President DeMonico has expressed his concern over what he believes is the alleged battery. I think he's made it clear to Board Member Williams he doesn't want to be touched again. I think Board Member Williams has acknowledged that. I think if it were an ongoing matter, that might expose the district to liability. I think one incident would be pretty tough to establish liability on the part of the district, especially given the attention that we've provided to the matter at this point.
so that would be my comment. Thank you.
And then this is right after, at the next board meeting, right after my public comments.
Do we have any other requests to speak?
No, we allowed to respond?
No. Do we have any other requests to speak? Seeing none?
Okay. Liaison reports? Okay. Oh, sorry.
Excuse me.
Please watch the faces of the board members and the
Mr.
shops, their actions. Mr. Williams,
You're out of order, please take your seat.
you were either trying to communicate an ex parte communication, which is illegal under Brown Act, or you were trying to intimidate me. So I ask you now to please resign. Thank you. And I ask the board to look into creating rules that anytime a board member or any other member disrupts the public, that they face the same consequences of a member of public who would do the same. I would have been arrested if I would have done that. So thank you guys for your time, and I wish that this be addressed immediately, and either have Director Williams resign, because the citizens of Chino and Chino Hills, at both both city council members, they've directed that, they've lost faith in you, and I ask you to resign now, since you've lost the faith in the public, and not waste time with a recall or any other matters that it's gonna take to have you removed. Because you know you did something wrong, and you were told you wouldn't, and you said you wouldn't do it again, and yet you did it right after the next board meeting. So I don't understand your thought process. I just ask you to resign, because it's just not worth, continued hassle of everyone.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Golden.
I'd like to make a comment.
I'm sorry.
No,
That's
now,
not
hold
an
on.
agenda-
I checked on this, and I'm allowed to make a comment.
It's not an agenda item, and I'm gonna ask the attorney.
I am allowed to make a comment.
We're going to ask our attorney whether you can address it or not.
Look at the Brown Act. It says that I can comment.
I'm going to ask our attorney.
The Brown Act does allow for brief comments to public comments as long as it doesn't turn into a discussion among the board.
Okay.
There you
Mr.
go,
Williams,
Mr.
you can
Know-it-all.
comment.
You guys told me I couldn't respond last time,
Make your
and
comment.
you were wrong.
Make your comment.
Why don't you admit it?
Make your comment.
The comment is I'm not going to resign. I asked to speak with you, and that's all I did. There was absolutely no intimidation, and if you were intimidated, I can't help it. It's something that I cannot control, because if you look at rules and stuff, what it says is that in this position, speaking with people and having contact with people is part of the job. And I didn't mean to intimidate you. For that I'm sorry, but I am not going to resign, and there's no way that I caused anything that causes me to be removed or resign or anything else.
Point of order. Are you done?
Finished.
Okay, our next speaker is Ms. Raina George.
Good evening. My name is Randa George, resident of Chino Hills, and I'm also a member of the Fire Safe Council. On the 16th of August, I sent Mr. DeMonico a letter, and I wanted to read that for you now. Dear Mr. DeMonico, I wanted to acknowledge Chief Shackelford on a great job he does for the Chino Valley Fire Department and the residents of Chino Hills. It is always easy for people to criticize, but when an exemplary job is done, it should be applauded. I've attended various meetings with Chief Shackelford in the past years, and he has always had a poise of confidence, knowledge, and understanding with a great sense of humor about things. Most residents, and myself included, are ignorant to what it takes to fight fires, and with this ignorance, questions need to be answered, and every time Chief Shackelford has come to educate people on reasons for what and why without making you feel foolish for asking in the first place. I have never seen him get flustered or not have an answer to questions when questioned continuously by residents, for which someone who lives in Carbon Canyon gives me comfort. The thing I appreciate most is his honesty, and I've lived in Chino Hills for over 30 years, met some previous fire chiefs that haven't meshed well with the community, and how unproductive that can be. I want to commend the fire board for finding the right person for the position of chief. Shackelford checks every box on how a respected chief should handle that position. After I sent that letter, I decided to look back and watch some past fire board, video, because I've never come before. And in all the meetings, Chief Shackelford still demonstrates that positive characteristics that I mentioned in my letter. I cannot say the same for Mr. Williams. I'm sure the people who voted for Mr. Williams did so because he was a firefighter. And that dignity and respect as a public that we put into a person that has that job. I urge Mr. Williams, if not for yourself, for the citizens of this community, try and be that man of dignity and respect that they hoped you would be. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other requests to speak? Seeing none?
I do have a comment. If you would care to stay after the meeting, I'd be more than happy to speak with you.
Liaison reports, Suzette Dang, San Bernardino County, 4th District.
Good evening again, President DeMonico, board members, staff, and audience members. Suzette Dang with your County Supervisor Kurt Hagman's office. I have 2 events coming up I'd like to announce. The first is Saturday, October 26th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Supervisor Kurt Hagman's office and City of Chino will be, Chino PD, are holding document shredding event. It will be at the parking lot of Chino City Hall, 13220 Central Avenue in Chino. We request that you limit the boxes or documents to 5 regular size boxes, standard filing size boxes, no CDs or DVDs or X-rays or binders or plastics. It is a free event, so we encourage our community members to come take advantage of it. Our second and very important event coming up is November 14th, between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This will be a veteran claims event. This will be our second annual event at our district office. And county veteran service officers will be there to provide free services. We encourage our veterans to bring their DD Form 214. They will answer all the questions about any existing claims or assessment interviews, help you complete your claim forms or paperwork, issue county veterans ID, and file compensation claims. So again, that will be November 14th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at our district office in Chino Hills. And lunch will be provided by Supervisor Hagman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mark Lucio, City of Chino.
Good evening, board members and fire chief and deputy fire chiefs. We have 2 events coming up in the city of Chino that I just wanted to talk about. Our first one's going to be on Halloween. It's going to be at Ayala Park. It's going to be our Halloween spectacular. We're going to have some bounces and different activities for the kids. We're also going to have a costume contest, so we please encourage anybody to have kids that wants to take them trick-or-treating to bring them to the park. And we'll be giving out candy, as well as they'll have bounce houses and everything else for the kids. We're also on November 1st, we're going to have another event at Ayala Park as well, and it's Bark Around the Park. It's geared towards bringing your dogs to the park and try to get some steam. Hopefully we can eventually dedicate a dog park in the city of Chino, but we'd like to see how many people like to come out to this event. And then our last event that I want to talk about is we have our Chino Youth Museum coming up. They have an annual bingo bash, and that's going to be Monday, November 4th, 5:30 to 7, and it's going to be located at Benderson Hall. So everybody's welcome, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brian Joe, City of Chino Hills.
Sure, I'm here. No events to invite you to, but wanted to really thank the district for your staffing and for all of your attention to our state of the city. It was kind of a new concept that we did. So many of our residents don't ever really interact with city government, so we appreciated the fire district coming out and really demonstrating just exactly what you do to protect the community. And then to echo what one of our wonderful residents said, ditto. Chief, you do a great job. We appreciate it, and all the staff and all the guys on the floor and admin, you do a great job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Charlie Blank, Fire Safe Council.
That's me.
Just two things. One, we did have our semi-annual brush clearance on September 21st, and we removed about 5,500 pounds of flammable material. All right, and the second thing is, I agree with Raina. In my interactions with the chief, he has shown great honesty, great integrity, and at times, he gets tested at these public meetings, and I think it's a tribute to him that, he's a better man than I am, I gotta tell you, because I have a tendency to tell people exactly what they need, what they don't need to hear or hear. But Tim does a great job. He's been at several of our meetings. I know he goes to a lot of other community events, and I think he's doing a great job as chief, and I hope he stays for a long time. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that concludes our liaison reports. Can I see anybody? Okay. Consent calendar.
Okay, this time I'd like to ask the board if there's any item on the consent calendar they'd like to pull. Seeing none, I'd like to ask if there's any public comment on the consent calendar, or if anybody would like to pull something on our consent calendar for discussion. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for any board comments. Seeing none, I'll request a motion for the consent calendar.
Motion. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Old business, none. New business, item number 8, Chino Valley Fire District, Section 115 Trust Annual Report. Purposes for the Board of Directors to review, discuss, and approve the 2018-19 Annual Report for the Chino Valley Fire District, Section 115 Trust. Report by Finance Director Steve Heidi.
President DeMonico, members of the board, good evening. During fiscal 17, the district initiated an irrevocable IRS Section 115 trust for the purposes of pre-funding retirement obligations. What that means in effect is that we're putting funds into a additional vehicle to fund retirement, and as those are irrevocable, those funds can only be used for purposes of funding retirement obligations. Wells Fargo Bank serves as the 115 Trust trustee, and PFM is the trust administrator and also serves as our investment advisor. At June 30, 2019, which is the report in front of you this evening, the trust amounted to nearly $6.2 million, including a board-directed $380,000 contribution to the trust during fiscal 19. The attached report was reviewed in detail with Finance Committee, and Ellen Clark from PFM is here this evening to present the annual report. The trust is also subject to annual audit, and it's anticipated that the results of the audit will be presented to the board in either November or more likely December. With that, I will read the recommendation and then turn it over to Ellen to provide her report. It's recommended that the board review and approve the 2018-19 annual report for the Chino Valley Fire District Section 115 Trust. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ellen Clark from PFM.
Steve, thank you very much, and President DeMonico, board members, and members of the staff. This is an annual report, but part of it is that you get a little bit of information about what's gone on in the investment markets over the last little bit and what we're thinking about on a going forward basis. And I need to learn how to use the technology. Is this one? No. Oh, it's that one. We've got the. Oh, this one. Okay, sorry for the technical difficulties. I am not a technology person. But I do know a little bit about the investment market. So this first chart is telling you that I'm sure that you've all heard in the media talk of that we're in 11th year of expansion, economic expansion, and people are thinking that we're much closer to a recession than we are to further growth. So I'm giving you 4 charts here saying that, you know, things might be looking down a little bit. Inflation is below the Fed target. Inflation's running at about 1.5 to 1.7, 1.5 to 1.7%. The Fed would like it at 2%. Why is that good? That means that we've got a little bit of price inflation, which means we also have a little bit of wage inflation. Actually, wages have been going up a little bit more than inflation, and that's a good thing for all of us that are paid. Construction spending is spending on new construction. I see a lot of cranes around, but we actually are seeing construction spending go down. So that is an indication of not as much money being spent on new building. The new bottom left here, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, small business optimism is actually fairly high, but it's coming down a little bit, historically high. I wouldn't say that this is a big negative, but it's going the wrong direction. And then the last, and perhaps the most important on the page, is this ISM Manufacturing Index. That you can see is approaching that 50 line. Expansion is above 50 and contraction is below 50. And that most recent reading actually dipped below 50 for the first time. Now, manufacturing is only about 18% of GDP contribution. You and I are a much bigger portion of that, and the consumer is pretty optimistic. So one of the things that we have here on the next page, top right, consumer confidence is at an all-time high. So the consumer continues to spend, although if I think about the consumer in assessing looking forward is thinking things might not be quite as good going forward as they have been in the past. Unemployment is historic low. We've got a 50-year low on unemployment. It hit 3.5 at the most recent reading. And you all have probably been watching the stock market. The stock market continues to go up. We have had a fair amount of volatility here recently, but I would not have guessed coming into this year that we would have a 20% year in the U.S. stock market, and we have. Going on to just what have we been seeing as returns in equities, and this is looking stocks or equities across the United States as well as outside of the United States. I give you 3 indexes here. The S&P 500 probably is the one that you all hear the most frequently. So as of the end of August, up 18.3%. As of yesterday, we have given a little bit away, that volatility that we've been seeing, up about 17.2% on a year-to-date basis. But look at that 5-year number. That's a 10% 5-year annualized rate of return. I would love to see that going forward, and I'm not sure it's possible. Russell 2000, that's small cap stocks. Small cap stocks haven't quite fared as well as large cap stocks, although small cap stocks are not affected by trade wars as much as large cap stocks. So they may have a little bit more return on a going forward basis than our large cap stocks. And then lastly, the MSCI, that's just the Morgan Stanley Country Index, ACWI, All Country World Index, ex-US, so we take the United States out of all the rest of the countries around the world. So international stocks have not fared quite as well as domestic stocks. You can see on that 5-year annualized basis, only about a 2% return. But what I can tell you is that international stocks are a lot cheaper than domestic stocks right now. Does that mean that we're buying a whole lot of them? No, because we are concerned about trade tensions and some of the geopolitical concerns that are around the world. And so here we just give you some of the things that we think about when we're investing money. So budget and trade deficit conversations, we could add some other political conversations to that today. Brexit, French protests, we've got some unrest in the Middle East. We've got trade tensions not only with Russia, Ukraine, also with China. So there's a number of concerns, geopolitical, around the world that are saying, maybe we don't have as good a growth outside of the U.S. as we do inside the U.S. The portfolio performance. So this is the portfolio performance as of June 30. The portfolio actually is approaching its 2.5-year anniversary at the end of this month. So for the 1 year, the portfolio was up 6.6%. You have a target percent of 5.5%. That's not something I went over, but was on that first graph or that first page. The blended benchmark, so if we just invested in some index funds, would be about 7.6%. So we're a little bit behind that. Since inception, we're about the same, almost a 7% annualized rate of return for the portfolio, and just a little bit before ahead of that blended benchmark. This just shows you the asset allocation as of June 30. So the target allocation is to have 50% in stock and 50% in bonds. And as of June, we had 49% in bonds and 51% in stock, so about the same. We've actually increased our allocation to domestic equity by 2%, and we've increased our allocation to international equity by 1%. So your fixed income allocation now is about 46% instead of 49%. Some things that we did in the year, so this is looking back over the last year. So we started with third quarter 2018. That's what we're in now. Third quarter starts October 1st. We transitioned the portfolio from one platform to another. It was just a more of an administrative change. In the fourth quarter of 2018, we removed an international equity overweight. So we had an overweight to international equity. We brought that to target. We also reduced our exposure to credit or corporate bonds. So we increased the quality of the fixed income portfolio. As you may recall, the fourth quarter of 2018 was a pretty difficult quarter and we saw some negative returns. In the first quarter of 2019, we actually took some more money out of domestic equity. The market was still going up pretty well, so we took some of those gains and put them into fixed income. And brought that portfolio into target with a 50-50 allocation. Then we added a new manager to the domestic equity portion of the portfolio in the second quarter. As I said earlier, since then we have actually added a little bit more to domestic equity and international equity, overweighting equity versus fixed income. This just is a chart showing you our outlook going forward. What do we think? And if you just use the kind of the orange is not so good and the darker green is a lot better. We're kind of in the neutral zone there. Large caps in the neutral zone, we've actually shifted that more to the green here recently, but large cap, mid cap, and small cap domestic equity we're fairly positive on. In the non-US equity area, developed markets and emerging markets we're kind of neutral on. The thing that we are concerned about there is economic growth outside of the United States. So we don't want to be buying, even though international stocks are on sale, we don't want to be buying them and have them go down more. But we are seriously looking at possibly increasing that a little bit more than even the 1% overweight. Fixed income, we do like credit or corporate bonds, although we have reduced our allocation to below investment grade corporate bonds at the present time. And we aren't really invested in any of the alternative space, and we could talk about that at another time. Again, same concept here, things that we're thinking about as we look forward. There's really only a couple of things that are in the negative area, and that would be geopolitical concerns are the big negative. Something that we can't really put our finger on. We can observe, but we don't know how that's actually going to play out until they play out. Interest rates are in the caution area. Trade tensions are in the caution area. And then we are looking at not only U.S. growth, but global growth being kind of slow and steady. So not like we saw in 2009, 10, and 11. Consumer confidence, economic growth in the United States, and then how the central banks are behaving are all positives, along with corporate fundamentals still being quite strong. I know these numbers are small. Steve told you earlier that you've got about $6.2 million in the portfolio. That is a little bit over $6.2 million as of 9/30. The portfolio, again, had that 6.6% annualized rate of return for the year ending June 30, and that since inception return of almost 7%. And this just shows you the different investments that the portfolio is invested in. And with that, I complete my comments unless there's any questions.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to open up to public comment. Would anybody from the public like to comment or questions? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for comments and questions.
2 questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand.
No, that's okay. What's the exposure?
Could you please come forward, Mr. Blake?
Oh, okay. I'm going to stand next to you and ask you my questions.
That's fine.
Okay, well, no, I don't need that. What's the exposure for any of this if there is a recession?
Well, the portfolio is currently invested about, as I said, about 53% in stock and about 47% in bonds. And in a recession, it depends what happens. The stock market is actually a reaction. It goes down after the recession has started. So the stock market's still going up. You probably would see some reduced returns, so we're not going to see 20% returns out of the stock market.
So the principal would go down from 6.2 or not?
It potentially would.
Okay, that's my question, thank you.
Can you pull back a slide? So corporate debt, do you see an overexposure in corporate debt equity that could be a concern for your corporate fund fundamentals that you have in the green zone? The bottom left one.
So the question is there too much?
Corporate debt bubble right now and overexposure.
And we've reduced our corporate debt exposure over the last 6 months. We've increased the credit quality of the portfolio by putting more into treasury securities and agency securities.
Okay, so you're also staying out of the stock market with regards to that?
No, we are not staying out of the
Or
stock
not,
market.
But are you I'm sorry, not staying out, but are you reducing the exposure in the stock market, since if the corporate debt bubble kind of falls apart, especially with Bed Bath & Beyond and a bunch of other brick and mortars closing down, and this real estate bubble of realty that's kind of imploding right now, and it's we have Forever 21, Bed Bath & Beyond, a number of these closing, and a lot of people see that. Yeah, a lot of retailers see that as kind of the beginning to kind of the implosion of going from brick and mortar to corporate, and the effects that's going to have on the stock market. So are you guys looking into that and trying to evaluate the exposure on that and how to kind of stay away from any consequences due to that?
So I think the question is about brick and mortar stocks versus e-commerce, because that's really what's behind the brick and mortar stores.
If that, and then also the corporate debt bubble, because all these corporations, with all the cutbacks, they're able to buy additional stocks and do some funny stuff.
So we look at our research team is looking at stocks all the time. We're not buying the stocks ourselves. We're actually buying the managers that are also doing research on the stocks. But our current position is that stocks are a better buy today than bonds because bonds are pretty expensive. So that's what we think. Okay?
Have you looked into, one other final question, have you looked into secondary foreign markets like Australia and some others that are still going strong that do have high returns on bonds and stuff like that? So foreign bond investment.
We hire managers who are doing that kind of research, and I can tell you that there is some international bond exposure in the portfolio, but that's not a decision that PFM is making.
President DeMonico, I'd like to just add a couple of additional comments if I could. So by taking these funds out of the district's general fund, which is significantly limited in terms of our ability to invest and generate returns under the California Government Code, we have been able to realize in excess of $500,000 in additional return on investment over the investment period, as opposed to if these funds were just invested within our general fund. While there is exposure to principal, these are long-term obligations with regard to pensions, and therefore we're taking the long-term investment objective with that as well. So there is certainly some risk, at least in the short term, to principal, but in the long term, we recognize that if we're investing our funds in the general fund, which right now allows us to generate somewhere in the low 2 percentile range on our return, and the retirement fund is in effect charging us 7% interest on our obligations, then we're losing, that margin. We are protecting the principal, but we're losing that 5% margin on an annual basis, as opposed to what Ellen presented here tonight, which actually has been a 7% return over the 2+ year period on an annualized basis, which allows us to keep pace with the increase in costs on the retirement side. So certainly there are some risks to the portfolio, but in the long term, we take the view that it's a long-term obligation, and in the long term, we believe we can realize reasonable rates of return while relatively minimizing the risk to the portfolio, but at the same time, more appropriately managing the risk in relation to the continuing increase in the obligation on the retirement side.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for comment.
I do have one question. How much is it costing us for the advice? The name of the company that you're with, ma'am?
PFM Asset Management.
And how much is the cost for the fire department?
The fire department pays us a percentage of the portfolio, and I believe that the fire district is paying us 0.45%.
0.45. Do you have any idea how much that might be toward the end of the year, an approximate? Any idea?
I don't have that number at the top of my head, but it would.
It would be around $20,000 to $25,000 a year, and the numbers that are being reported here are net of those expenses. So after those expenses.
So now, if there were bad times and we lost money or something like that, would you still get paid the 0.45 of the portfolio? Is that correct?
Director Williams, yes, we would.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say thank you for coming in and doing this. This was a great program that we wanted to take advantage of to, to have the increase of returns that Steve just mentioned for a future obligation. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Krieger.
I just thank you, but I want to let you know that I appreciate the report and how you did it. It was very user-friendly for those of us who don't quite like this topic as much as others, like Director Krieger. It was awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone, the time that it was put into this. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
I'd also like to thank you, and I thought it was very thorough, but I do want to make one comment, and that's anytime anybody has a money manager or you have investments, there is a percentage charge to manage your account. Every company does that because the companies aren't out there to do that for free. So we appreciate everything we do, everything you do, and we're making money on it, so thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay. With that, I'd like to call for a vote.
Do we need
Do I have a
to
motion?
vote for it?
It's, we have, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
we need to.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion.
What are we
second.
voting on here?
We have a motion to approve the annual report for the Chino Valley Fire District Section 115 Trust. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 4-0, 1 absent. Item 9.
Item number 9, consideration of additional resolution of censure regarding board member Lorraine Wynn Williams. Purpose is for the board of directors to discuss and consider adopting a third resolution of censure against board member Williams, based on board member Williams' violation of board policy and including a statement regarding the prevention of battery against district employees. Report by legal counsel Jeff Bellinger.
Yes, President DeMonico and members of the board, at the last board meeting, the board requested that we bring back a third resolution of censure relating to board member Williams' comments at previous board meetings that he then continued to make at the September 11th meeting, as well as including in there a provision regarding the prevention of battery by board members based on the previously alluded to actions of board member Williams. In your staff report and attached to the agenda packet is a resolution that incorporates these findings and provides for the adoption of a censure resolution. So with that, I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, at this time I'd like to open this up to public comment. Would anybody from the public like to comment on this item on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for board comments. Would any member of the board like to comment on this?
We have a member of the public.
I'm sorry, I did not see your hand, and I have to apologize. I have reading glasses, and my vision glasses are at the shop. My distance glasses.
Age gets us all at some point. I read this notice about board employees. Is this also gonna be directed towards members of the public vis-a-vis board member meetings and, you know, kind of extending the same policies out to them? And, go ahead.
Why don't you ask all your questions first?
Okay. Actually, you know, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Board members, the resolution does reference battery towards employees. If the board would like to extend that to members of the public or other board members, you're certainly welcome to do that.
And when we do that, when somebody, or if somebody makes a motion?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any other requests to speak from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for board comments. Would any member of the board like to comment?
Okay, I do have a statement prepared.
Mr. Williams?
Just give me a minute and I'll get it here. Okay. This is censure discussion. The California courts have held that, quote, public meetings at which council members discuss matters of public interest and legislate are conduct in furtherance of the council members' constitutional right of free speech in connection with public issues and issues of public interest. Under the First Amendment, legislators are given the widest latitude to express their views, and there are no stricter free speech standards on them than on the general public. The public has a right to come in here and criticize the department, criticize the employees, criticize the board, or individual board members. And guess what? I have that exact same right whether you like it or not. Like the courts say, no stricter free speech standards on elected officials than on the general public. When I was sworn in to this office, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution includes the First Amendment and the right to express my views. I believe each of the other board members took the same oath. Certainly, the Constitution supersedes any board policy limit on board members' right to criticize the department or incompetent leadership. I have the First Amendment right to express my views, and when I see waste, corruption, and incompetence in this department, I'm going to speak out. When I see issues that affect public safety, like I discussed at the last meeting concerning the Star Fire, I'm going to speak out. That's what I was elected to do, to provide oversight and ensure that this department can effectively and efficiently respond to public safety needs. This board doesn't want to hear any criticism. They want everybody at these meetings to blow smoke and talk about how great everything is and how great our chief is. They want this to be a big mutual admiration society. Well, guess what? Everything isn't great, and I'm going to call it out, the things we need to fix. The chief is an appointee of this board. It's my job to evaluate his performance. If you don't like my criticism of him or the way I go about it, too bad. The same goes for our board clerk. I think most of the public would be shocked to know that our board clerk makes over $200,000 a year. Just think about that. The clerk of a special district board makes over $200,000, almost $250,000 with benefits. Oh no, I talked about how much our clerk makes. The other board members here are probably appalled that I would mention such a thing. They like to say that when I say something they don't like, they're appalled. Guess what? It's board record. It's public record, I mean. The public has a right to know. Anybody receiving that many taxpayer dollars is certainly not immune from criticism, especially if they refuse to do their job. I have the First Amendment right to continue to express my views. If you want to censure me again for exercising my free speech rights, knock yourselves out. If you're going to censure me for speaking my mind, you may as well put it on the agenda for every meeting. Maybe we can just put it on the consent calendar to save time. Censure Wynn Williams for exercising his First Amendment rights. This board is about to go into closed session and discuss items in secret. The only purpose of some of these items is to deprive the public of information the people have a right to know and to deny the public the right to witness their deliberation of the public's business. The first item, which should not be held in closed session, is the discussion of the Brown Act violations related to the secret email meeting the majority of this board held on December 26, 2018. At the February 13, 2019 meeting, this board voted unanimously to waive attorney-client privilege regarding this very matter. The Brown Act provision for closed session.
This is not the subject of your censure.
Yeah, it is about the censure. Yeah, sure it is.
It's not.
No, it's not.
We're talking about the Brown Act.
No, we're talking about your censure, remember?
We're talking about my censure and the violation of the Brown Act because of my censure.
No. The censure was because of your comments about the public and the members of the district staff. It has nothing to do with the Brown Act or the letter written by your son.
Okay, each member of the legislative body who attends a meeting of that legislative body where action is taken in violation of any provision of this chapter and where the member intends to deprive the public of information to which the member is entitled.
Get back on topic, please.
Okay. you don't want to talk about it, that's fine.
Are you done?
Finished.
Would any other
Apparently
board-
I'm finished.
Any other board member like to make a comment?
I was gonna make a motion, but if you have a comment, so. Okay, I'd like to make a motion, and I want the motion to include members of the public as well as board members. I would like the censure and employees on this. I believe employees were already addressed there. But to include members of the public and board members to this last censure.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a
What are we
second.
doing? Are we having the
We're voting.
members of the public vote?
Voting, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
How are we including the members of the public?
Mr.
I
Williams,
have a
would you
right to
like-
ask a
Would you like
question.
to vote?
She said something about including the members of the public. Are they gonna vote, or what is what are you saying
So we're
here?
talking about item number 9, and this is regarding consideration of additional resolution of censure regarding board member Lorene Wen Williams. And if you read the censure, I am asking that the censure include in it, and this I'm looking for my page for you, 155 of 156 of our agenda packet. I would like the censure to include members of the public and board members, that be added to the text, the language of this censure. That was my motion, and Director Krieger, he seconded it, and now we brought it forward for
So what you're
vote.
saying is I can't shake hands with anybody in the public? I shook hands with several members here tonight,
I'm not
and what
gonna
you're saying
address
is I'm
that.
not supposed to do that anymore.
I'm addressing what is on,
Is this the ridiculousness of what you're trying to say, Sarah? I'm asking you a question. Am I not supposed to shake hands with people in the public? Is this how ridiculous you're getting?
I'm gonna make a comment on it. If a member of the public does not wanna shake your hand, they don't have to shake your hand. And what's being said is if they don't wanna shake your hand, you're not to touch them.
How am I supposed to know that?
Well, if you reach your hand out and they don't wanna shake it, then you know that.
What if I put my hand on their shoulder like I did yours? How am I supposed to know that? If you look at,
we've had this
if you look
discussion,
at,
no touching.
I think we've had
People
this
don't
discussion.
want to
if you
be
look at
touched.
things, you'll see that in this position, communicating with people and touching people is part of the job.
Not touching.
There's no job
Let's
You'll
description.
find that to be part of the job.
With that being said, we
And
have
unless a person comes to me in advance and says, I don't want you touching
we
me,
have a- we have a
I don't
motion-
know
We have a
that.
motion and a second. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I oppose.
3-1, 1 absent. Okay. Next, fire chief's comments.
President Monaco, members of the board, good evening. Under personnel development activities, on Saturday, September 14th, Public Education Specialist Nancy Kidd and Fire Inspector Tori Jung staffed a sharps collection event at the training center. Many community members participated, and 5 55-gallon drums were filled with sharps. CVFD participated in the City of Chino Hills 2019 State of the City Community Fair on Saturday, September 21st, and city staff expressed their gratitude to our personnel for supporting the event. Bartell Associates, our contracted actuaries, are conducting a review of the district's retirement plan obligations in preparation for a pension update workshop, which will take place next month. Outside auditors were completing the final portions of the annual audit in our offices last week, and we anticipate presentation of the report as well as our comprehensive annual financial report at the December board meeting. Finance and Human Resources staff will be attending an annual CalPERS education forum later this month. Under board activities and public relations, board members and management staff attended the CSDA annual conference in Anaheim, September 25th through the 28th. The district was reaccredited with the Transparency Certificate of Excellence and the District of Distinction Platinum level recognition. On October 24th, we will be hosting a San Bernardino County Fire Chiefs Association meeting at the training center. Under organizational items of interest, I'd like to ask our HR director to provide an update on recruitment.
Good evening. We have 3 candidates and backgrounds. That's 1 auxiliary worker, 1 IT specialist, and 1 office technician. And we'll be conducting fire recruit skills testing the week of October 21st.
and will be conducting deputy chief interviews on October 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you for the report, Christy. And a last update with some weather-related staffing. The board is aware of this, but we'll share with the public. We have some additional staffing due to the anticipated wind. We have a brush engine that's staffed that's actually covering the CAL FIRE Prado station, and that's providing service back to the district, covering for CAL FIRE, and we are reimbursed for those costs. And we have 2 strike team leaders out, and they are with a pre-positioned strike team in DeVore. And then beginning tomorrow morning, we will be staffing some additional units, a brush engine and water tender. Thursday and Friday is the initial plan. We'll base that on the weather conditions and fire activity. Under upcoming events, our annual open house event is scheduled for Saturday, October 12th at the Training Center at Fire Station 61 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the State of the Fire District will take place at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, October 30th at the Training Center. And the last item I have for you is I'd like to share with the board and the public some recent interaction with Director Williams that occurred. My final comment this evening pertains to some recent interaction with Director Williams. Before I share with you what occurred, I'd like to read a letter that was sent to Director Williams on September 11th, 2019. The letter was sent via email and certified mail. In addition, a hard copy of the letter was provided to Director Williams at the September 11th, 2019 Board of Directors meeting. The other 4 board members were copied on the correspondence. The letter reads as follows. Dear Board Member Williams, the purpose of this correspondence is to address your access to non-public areas of our fire administration building. On February 20th, 2019, the Board of Directors approved a resolution of censure. 2 items within the resolution pertain to the purpose of this correspondence. Requirement that you make an appointment with the fire chief for any fire district staff contact before visiting any fire district facilities. And also a requirement that a witness be in attendance during meetings with you and that the interaction be recorded. During closed session meetings of the Board of Directors and before, during, or after open session portion of board meetings, you have entered non-public areas of the fire administration building. To clarify, the non-public areas are any areas other than the lobby and the boardroom. The closed session room would typically be considered a non-public area, but as you are a board member, you are provided access to that room for closed session meetings of the Board of Directors. When you have accessed the non-public areas of the building, it has created situations that are likely out of compliance with the requirements set forth in the resolution of censure as you have encountered staff members. Any contact with staff members outside of the interaction that takes place during the actual board meeting needs to conform to the requirements set forth in the resolution of censure. In the future, if situations arise that require providing you access to the non-public areas of the fire administration building, please advise me and I will attempt to facilitate your request. I thank you in advance for your cooperation in this matter. Now that I've read the letter to you, I'd like to share what took place on October 2nd, 2019. During the late morning, I was out of the office at an appointment, and I was notified by our Human Resources Director that our Human Resources Specialist received a voicemail from Director Williams. In his voicemail, Director Williams indicated that he was contacting her in response to an email that she sent to all personnel and the Board of Directors on September 9th regarding benefits open enrollment. In the voicemail, Director Williams stated that he needed information and was requesting to come to administration. I advised our Human Resources Director that I had not been contacted by Director Williams as required by the resolution of censure, and that when I returned to the office later in the day, we would discuss how to proceed with the request. A short time later, I was notified that Director Williams had left a second voicemail for our Human Resources Specialist, this time requesting that she call him back. As the board has directed that all interaction with Director Williams be recorded, having a discussion with him on the telephone is highly problematic. After I completed my appointment, I had an opportunity to check messages, and I noted that I had received a voicemail from Director Williams requesting assistance with benefits. 7 minutes after he left the voicemail, Director Williams sent me an email that stated, I need to find out about health benefits before Friday. In checking additional messages, I learned that Director Williams had left a third voicemail for our Human Resources Specialist and had also called the clerk of the board. I made contact with the clerk of the board via telephone, and she let me know that Director Williams was actually at the Community Risk Reduction counter here at Fire Administration. I advised the clerk of the board that Director Williams was violating the provisions of the resolution of censure. I suggested that Deputy Chief Collins go to the counter, make contact with Director Williams, and let him know that per the resolution of censure, he needs to contact me to make an appointment. Deputy Chief Collins went to the counter and advised Director Williams that he needed to make an appointment with me. Director Williams became agitated and made it clear he would not abide by the direction of the board and that only a judge has the ability to tell him what he can and can't do. During the interaction, Director Williams inquired about the Finance Committee meeting that was scheduled for later that day. He then told Deputy Chief Collins that he would be attending the meeting. The Finance Committee, like other committees, is comprised of 2 board members. Having a 3rd member of the Board of Directors in attendance at the meeting is potentially problematic and goes against the advice of legal counsel, as it represents a quorum of the board. Later that afternoon, Director Williams arrived at administration and abruptly returned to his vehicle when he saw that we were utilizing the metal detector to screen meeting attendees. Although I can't confirm it, I believe that Director Williams returned to his vehicle as he had to remove a knife from his pocket. This is similar to what has occurred at previous meetings. As Director Williams made his way through the metal detector, it alerted, and he asked our employee that was doing the screening if he needed to drop his pants. After completing the security screening process, Director Williams made his way inside the meeting room, and once inside, he stated that he needed information about direct deposit. I told him that as he was at the meeting as a member of the public, we could not address any board-related matters, and I suggested that he send me an email with the information that he needed. At the conclusion of the meeting, Director Williams walked around the table and approached me while I was still seated, standing very close, and I felt he was in my personal space. Director Williams stated that next week would be his 50-year anniversary with the district, and that if I didn't say something about the upcoming board meeting, he would. Director Williams then began to walk behind me toward the south door. I stated, "You are not allowed to go out that door." And he replied, "This door here?" I responded, "Yes." Director Williams then opened the door, walked through it, and quickly closed it behind himself. Director Williams then entered the adjacent restroom. The SBSO deputy then left the meeting room, patiently waited outside the restroom, and then escorted Director Williams out of the building. Director Williams has publicly declared that he will not abide by the directives of the board in the resolution of censure. He continues to violate board policy and has completely disregarded the request to coordinate his access to the non-public areas of fire administration through me. Director Williams has also publicly stated that I am wasting money on the security procedures that I've instituted, yet he has repeatedly attempted to enter the building with a weapon. As fire chief, I have an obligation to provide a safe, harassment-free work environment for our personnel. The actions of Director Williams have placed me in a position where I must continue to take steps to limit his access to our staff. Director Williams, please let this serve as notice if you choose to not abide by the directives of the board and enter the non-public areas of this facility again without my permission. I will request that law enforcement cite you for trespassing. That concludes my comments for this evening.
Thank you, Chief. And next on the agenda is going to be board committee reports and comments, and we're going to limit these to 5 minutes per board member for now and in the future for the rest of my term as president. So I'll start with Mr. Williams.
Okay, thank you very much. I do apologize because I had censure letter and now I have board comments. The board is about to go into closed session and discuss items in secret. The only purpose of some of these items is to deprive the public of information that people have a right to know, and to deny the public the right to witness their deliberation of the people's business. The first item, which should not be held in closed session, is the discussion of the Brown Act violations related to the secret email meeting the majority of this board held on December 26, 2018. At the February 13, 2019 meeting, the board voted unanimously to waive attorney-client privilege regarding this very matter. The Brown Act provision for closed session for anticipated litigation states, this section is the exclusive expression of the lawyer-client privilege for purposes of conducting closed session meetings pursuant to this chapter. If attorney-client privilege has been waived on the very subject matter to be discussed in closed session, there's no lawful basis to discuss this in closed session, and to do so is a Brown Act violation. The Brown Act also states that closed session for exposure to litigation is only permitted when discussion in open session concerning those matters would prejudice the position of the local agency in the litigation. In this past weekend's champion, Chief Shackelford himself is quoted saying, "This allegation has already been addressed by legal counsel in great detail in open session." If that's the case, if this exact allegation has already been addressed in detail in open session by legal counsel, why the sudden need for secrecy in closed session? How could the district's position be prejudiced if this has already been addressed in open session? It just doesn't make any sense. The only purpose of discussing this in closed session is to deprive the public of information it has a right to know. The Brown Act in Government Code Section 54959 states, each member of the legislative body who attends a meeting of that legislative body where action is taken in violation of any provision of this chapter and where the member intends to deprive the public of information to which the member knows or has a reason to know the public is entitled under this chapter, is guilty of a misdemeanor. Therefore, I will not be participating for that portion of closed session, since knowingly participating in such a meeting is a criminal offense under the Brown Act. Secondly, last meeting I asked to place an item on the agenda regarding an investigation of the Star Fire. Instead of placing this on the agenda for discussion in open session, it is on the agenda as a closed session item. You wouldn't know it because it's buried under anticipated litigation with no description, but there is no litigation threat. Our council knows, as well as I do, that California Government Code Section 850.4 provides fire agencies and their employees immunity from suit for damages or injuries caused from fighting fires. Therefore, discussing the mishandling of the fire and trying to learn from that to improve public safety does not expose the district to liability. In fact, the real purpose of the closed session is to avoid public discussion about an investigation of that fire because it could potentially embarrass the department and chief and further expose his incompetence. However, the potential for embarrassment is not legal basis to hold a board discussion in secret. There is absolutely no litigation threat, and the public has the right to witness this important public safety discussion. Once again, to knowingly participate in a closed session discussion of where the purpose is to deprive the public of information it has a right to know would be a criminal offense, and I will not participate. Again, I ask that this be placed on the agenda for discussion in open session at the next meeting. On a final note, what is the non-specific statement in this draft of the resolution about the board finding battery inappropriate and unlawful? Is that supposed to imply that I committed battery without actually stating it? Have I ever been charged or convicted of battery? No. So what does this have to do with me? I know John here has made an accusation of battery because I touched him on the shoulder. It's on video, John. Why don't you want to show the video in the meeting here in open session? Show the video. You won't because you know there's nothing there. And one other statement I would like to make about Sarah. It was either my first or my second meeting. You asked me to resign. You are all concerned in your statements that I make about employees and things, and yet you asked me to resign practically when I first got on the board. Nothing that I can say can be as bad as you taking that stand. I realize it's 4 against 1, so you sit there smiling and all happy and everything because you know that they're going to back you. But think about what you're doing. Asking me to resign when I just got on the board wasn't appropriate, and I'm sorry about all this going on to the public. I am very sorry, but you have to understand that everything here is a result of things that have gone on and got out of hand.
Director Krieger. Thank you, President DeMonico. I attended the Fire Foundation event last night at Roscoe's. They raised $500 for AEDs for our community and or towards the purchase of AEDs and other supplies for the community. So thank you to all who went to that. I attended the CSDA conference with a few of the chiefs and Director Evinger, and that was very educational. Attended school board meetings, board of supervisor, and city of Chino Hills meetings. There's a lot of discussion that seems to be coming out over the Pine Avenue extension and how that will affect potential impact with the fire district. So I think down the road we might need that. I know we've discussed it before. Maybe we could. I'm not asking for it to be agendized. Just keep it in back of your mind. Maybe a couple months down the road we can revisit that for a discussion purpose. I met with Supervisor Hagman to discuss the master plan for Prado Park. and the impacts that might have with the fire district as well, for the future expansion and planning of that. Charlie, thank you very much for your constant stewardship up there in the canyon. Collected 5,500 pounds of fuel up there is awesome, and I really appreciate your efforts on that. To Mr. Goldman and Ms. George, thank you very much for your comments tonight. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for being involved. And really, I want to say congratulations to our members who got their 10-year awards tonight. I was thinking about these guys that just got the 5-year awards, and I've been on the board 6 years now, so these were all the new guys. Now I'm kind of an older guy amongst the department here, so that was great, and certainly for Don and Fernando for their 40 years, and of course sad to see Tyler go, but incredibly proud of him, and glad for him at the same time. And with that, I'll conclude my comments.
Okay, alrighty. So I attended the Association of San Bernardino County's special district meeting. It was hosted by BB&K, and I did that along with other directors on the board. Couple Chino council meetings, the CSD annual conference, which is always a great conference, the Fire Safe Council meeting, and had the opportunity to meet the fire chief from Fullerton, Brea, or Brea, Fullerton, however they say that. And one of the nice things about that is we were talking about some of the programs that we have on this side of the canyon, and during that discussion, hopefully they're gonna be able to go and implement brush pickup on that side, where we can they can work with their refuge company and go in collection. So that will be awesome if we can get both sides of the canyon collecting, although we don't, everyone in the canyon is able to come. We seem to find more of the Chino Hills community that is coming and dump that. I also attended the Chino Hills State of the City, and I wanna recognize both Councilmember Jose, and we have Marquez here tonight. That was an awesome event. It was a wonderful event. You guys did a great job. Very, very well done. I enjoyed my time there, and I wanna thank our staff, our fire district, for the involvement and partnering with the city and making that great as well. I also attended the Roscoe's event last night, and did you spend to make all the money there? Did you buy that much beer where they got that donation?
I wanted to
Teasing you, so.
raise as much money as possible.
So, congratulations to all the employee service awards and Tyler's retirement. I had to give him a big hug before the meeting because boy, I've known Tyler a long time. We used to do the firefighters fun muster and chili cook-off, and my kids and his kids were little running around, and he's very near and dear to me, and he's worked very hard, and I'm excited for his family, but it was a sad departure for me. And Raina and our speakers today, thank you so much. I wanna, once again, Chief, I'm gonna address you publicly and give you my 100% support. So I'm cut off, thank you.
Well, that's what that is.
Yes.
Just a couple of comments. I attended a couple of things. I was able to attend the San Bernardino County Chapter Special Districts with BB&K presenting and supporting, and that was a good event. But foremost, I'd like to congratulate all of our recipients tonight of their anniversary awards for the 5-year, 10-year, and 40-year. 40 years is a long time in the fire service, but must be doing something good if they want to stay here that long. We are doing something good here, and I congratulate for that, and I really appreciate all their service. And Raina and Brad, thank you for your comments tonight. And Charlie, yours as well. I really appreciate the public coming to our meetings and expressing their views and letting us know what they think and what they feel about the fire district. I really appreciate that. I do want to read something into the record. I have a statement I want to read. And with that, I'm going to stay. I started my fire service career in 1974. I've been in multiple fire departments, serving in all ranks, including fire chief. Throughout my career, I have been on a lot of major incidents. I've been an incident commander, an operations section chief, division supervisor, and strike team leader on numerous incidents, including wildland fires. I have significant education in all aspects of the fire service, including command and control. I've completed the National Fire Academy program of Executive Fire Officer. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Public Management and Association and an AS in Fire Science. I hold numerous state certifications, including Chief Officer, Fire Prevention, Fire Instructor, Firefighter 1 and 2, and Arson Investigator 1 and 2. Arson investigations require a direct focus on how a fire starts and spreads. I believe I could speak with expertise regarding the recent fire and Mr. Williams' allegations. At the last meeting, Mr. Williams viciously attacked the fire chief over command and control of this fire. Mr. Williams further insulted the firefighters of this district with his allegations of lack of training and poor firefighting techniques. With my 45 years plus of experience in all aspects of the fire service and my vast educational background, I truly believe that the fire was controlled and extinguished in a manner that is above reproach. The officers and firefighters of this district did a tremendous job on this fire, along with the firefighters from the other agencies. We have experienced a lot of major devastating fires in California. All of these fires started at one point of ignition. These fires have destroyed entire cities, neighborhoods, and communities. They started no different than how this fire started, a point of ignition. This fire had the potential of great destruction. It was a hot and dry day. The terrain is subject to rapid spread of fire. It was also a windy day. Every one of these factors contribute to a potential disaster. As I stated, the firefighters did a tremendous job on that fateful day. Proper placement of equipment and assignment of fire crews stopped the fire from spreading. If this fire was inadequately commanded or untrained firefighters were on the fire line, it scares me to think of the devastation that would have occurred. We lost one home, a very large home, and I feel really bad for the owners. Unfortunately, conditions that day prevented saving the home, but the quick aggressive attack organized by this district prevented other homes from burning. Mr. Williams wanted to know if the district used hardlines. A hardline is nothing more than a large garden hose. Using a hardline is like peeing in the wind. The district used significantly larger and proper hose lines for the fire. I am going on record with my reputation and many years of experience and education to publicly state that this fire is one of the most efficient extinguished of a wildland fire that I have ever seen or experienced. So with that, we are going to adjourn to closed session, and I would like to have the clerk of the board read those items that we're going into closed session for.
Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. Paragraph 1 of subdivision D of section 54956.9, name of case, Ryan ETAL versus Chino Valley Independent Fire District, U.S. District Court Case Number 519-CV-01490. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. Paragraph 1 of subdivision D of section 54956.9, name of case, City of Chino versus CDCR, San Bernardino Superior Court, case number CIVDS 1917019. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 of subdivision D of section 54956.9, letter from Kyle Williams dated September 25th, 2019. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 of subdivision D of section 54956.9, 2 or more potential cases.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we're going to adjourn to closed session. Oh, you're here. I'm here. Sorry. Okay. Okay, well, let me find some glasses so I can at least see. Okay, we're going to reopen to open session, and we're going to report on a closed session. So, Jeff, if you would report out for us.
Yes, President DeMonico, members of the board, and members of the public who are still here. The board met in closed session to discuss the 4 items that are listed on the agenda. The last 2 items, Board Member Williams did not participate in. The only reportable action is with regard to the first item, the existing litigation, Ryan et al. Versus CBI-FD. And what is to be reported is that the board previously approved a settlement of litigation that was filed in August of 2019. The basic terms of that settlement are that the district will be paying a settlement payment under the Fair Labor Standards Act of approximately $750,000 plus attorney's fees, and a copy of that settlement agreement is available upon request. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Williams, I'm going to ask one thing. I asked you for the 2, 3, 4 pages, whatever, when you put the exhibit up of the one copy for the other pages, and I asked you for those copies. I wanted to ask you if you were going to provide those.
Oh, that's on my workers' comp?
I don't know what it's on. You
It was on
provided.
my workers' comp, and the answer is no, I'm not gonna.
Are you hiding
provide
something?
those. Pardon?
Must be hiding something. So with that, I'm going to adjourn our meeting. The meeting will be adjourned to a regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Chino Valley Independent Fire District to be held on Wednesday, November 13th, 2019 at 6 p.m. at the Fire District Headquarters Office located at 14011 City Center Drive, Chino Hills, California. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.